What is happening, y'all? Cowboy here, and welcome to my ghost guide for Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. Now, there is definitely a little bit of technique when it comes to playing the ghost and a couple tricks that are good to know. So in this video, we're going to be covering managing our rifts, managing our energy, handling the Ghostbusters, both in combat and escape, and then lastly, the path to victory. So let's jump on in, and the first thing we're going to be talking about are rifts. Now, rifts are literally your lifeline. Each rift represents one chance to respawn. So rifts, you want these in fantastic places. If rifts are in an area that is, you know, not, if it's in a conspicuous spot, you're gonna want to get that rift out of there. If it's a situation like this and I have my ultimate up, I am dropping my ultimate, I'm getting my rift, and I am getting the hell out of town with it and putting it somewhere else. Because as I said, if that rift goes down, all of a sudden, that's one life that I have lost. Now, a situation like what you just saw, where I had the rift and I went into a 1v4, I would typically only recommend doing a situation like that if you have your ultimate up. That's a very risky play. And the reason that's so risky is that if you are in that 1v4 and, you know, for some reason they capture you, well, now they've captured you and they're probably going to capture the rift as well. So at that point, you're usually screwed and you've just given them a 2-for-1 deal. So if you're going to rescue a rift, you want to be very aware of how many Ghostbusters are there and what the potential risk is. Now, when it comes to moving rifts, you can either possess the object, like I have right here, and move the object manually. This is definitely a little riskier, mainly because if they shoot this little clock, all of a sudden the rift pops out, and then I need to rescue it, kind of how I did at the start there, and without an ultimate, that's a little bit trickier. But if I'm in a situation where I have the rift, I might be able to do something like that, where I've left it on a ledge, and now it's in kind of a cheeky spot. So if you are going to possess the object the rift is in, just be smart about how you're doing it. The last thing I want to touch on with rifts is detonating. If a rift's health is really low, we're talking like a third of it remaining, detonating may be worthwhile. Detonating will cause a large amount of haunt buildup in the specific room you're in, usually like 40 to 50%. So it's a big solid chunk of haunt. But keep in mind, you're throwing away one of your lives to do this. So be very cautious about trying to detonate rifts and do it very sparingly. Now, moving on from that, let's talk about energy. We use energy for everything in this game. I mean, God, we're going to be using the energy to scare, we're using it to dash. And a lot of people, I see, this is probably the #1 mistake I see with ghosts. People get out of energy from running around, and then they're like, I can't scare anything. What do I do? Why is this taking so long to regen? And that's because you're not possessing enough. When an object is possessed, you gain energy while you're moving, and you gain more energy while you're standing still. But the point is, you want to constantly be possessing objects. Here, I'm going to show y'all this is a nice little technique I like to do here. Just going to hit that dude with the sabotage, and I'm going to pick that up, and then I'm going to go. Oh yeah, when you're carrying rifts, you can't use these. If I go through this, you'll see I've dropped my rift and it's left exposed. Just a little hot tip for all my ghosties out there. But yeah, the sabotage rift steals are a very smart way to play. Usually I'm only going to do that if there's like 2 busters. I don't like trying to pull off the sabotage on multiple busters. It's just too tricky.
I'm pretty scared right now. Okay.
Easy clap. But yeah, so like already I'm too low on energy. I want to immediately hop into an object, start getting that energy back up so I could continue this fight. Keep messing with them. But the big takeaway here is always keep an eye on your energy. Same as our rifts are a lifeline. Running out of energy is one of the easiest ways to get caught and get killed. So just always be aware of how much you have and how low it is at any particular time. You can use your ghost vision while you're in objects, which I would recommend, so that as soon as you end your ghost vision, there's a slight delay, but your energy is going to rapidly go back up. But if I'm looking around and trying to figure out where NPCs or busters are, or my traps are, or my rifts, this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing ghost vision inside of an object. Now moving on from that, let's talk about the busters. You know, whether you're going to be fighting or escaping, there's a couple things to know. The first, if you're trying to escape busters, object hop. I cannot stress this enough. You don't want to be fighting them just running around like this in the open, because they're just going to tether you. What you want to be doing is looking for chances to jump into objects. Jump into objects, keep running. Even if it's a big object like this, it doesn't matter. Because what we're doing is we're putting ourselves into a fresh entity, and that's a fresh health bar that they need to shoot through if they want to get a chance to tether us and put us into a trap. So by constantly doing that over and over and over again, we continually give ourselves fresh health bars. Now, besides that, if you, let's say you have plenty of energy, or you're not running, maybe you're trying to fight, the next thing would be line of sight. Line of sight absolutely destroys these guys. So they start getting a tether. If I can break line of sight, the tether will break instantly. I'm trying to get a good angle to show this. Let's see if they'll... So, just like that. See that? See how fast that tether broke? Or same right here. If they start shooting me... Come on, bots. I'm trying to demonstrate stuff. Let's go. Well, the bots are going extra slow. But the point being, if you start getting a hit with a laser, and then you break line of sight, the laser is going to get off of you. So you always want to try and use both line of sight as well as elevation differences. Because you can see right there, I didn't even have to use F. Getting over to here, just wiggling over to there, was enough to break line of sight and allow me to get loose. Another thing to keep in mind is the Ghostbusters are playing in first person. So dashing straight through them is a pretty effective way to mess them up. Because, you know, they have to, if they're on you and you go through, all of a sudden they got to do that like 180 quick turn. They're like, where the hell did this guy go? And their screen is covered with slime when you go through them. So you're actually like literally impairing their vision. So shooting through people like that, another very effective way to get rid of the Ghostbusters. Now, when it comes to actually fighting the Ghostbusters, let's talk about tactical sliming. Tactical sliming is basically preparing your abilities for when you know they're going to get the max value. So Slimer is an excellent example of this because his slime vomit can completely down one like that, like a full down, but I need to hit them with the full thing, you know. If I miss part of that, it's not going to be a down. So always be smart about when you're using your abilities, stuff like that. If you're fighting a Ghostbuster outright, one of the things I like to do is dash through and then attack. That dash through and attack does a lot of slime, and usually one more slime or one more dash through is going to get a down. So it's not like you have to have a ton of abilities to fight, you know. Just doing scares and dashes. You can see all four of them are now downed, and that's just from me scaring and dashing, scaring and dashing, scaring and dashing. So very, very effective. Just using the dash through in particular. I feel like a lot of people discount the dash through. The dash through, it does a lot of slime buildup, like close to 50%. So we've talked about our busters, we've talked about our rifts and energy, fighting a little bit and escaping, but now let's talk about the path to victory. This is one of the most important things. Now, there are three main paths to victory. Obviously, you win by your global haunt, your building haunt, reaching 100%. Now, we can either scare civvies, we can max out individual rooms, or we can just beat up busters. Now, by maxing out individual rooms, when a room maxes out, it's going to add a huge chunk of building haunt. So we'll do this right now just to show what I would do. So like in the restaurant, for example, I would do a mass haunt. So I'm going to haunt, and I'm just literally like moving and hitting Q, moving and hitting Q, moving and hitting Q. And then my energy's low, I'm going to sit in a chair. And now it's basically game over. This whole match is about to end because when this hits 100%, we're going to jump to 100% haunt in like half a second here. Boom. Room fully haunted. You can see maximum bonus 75 comes off the timer because we had all 3 of our rifts left alive, and this match is already going to be a GG. Now, while building up a Room's Haunt to full to max out your meter is a great way to play, we can also build up our general haunt through both civvies as well as just beating on the busters. So let's talk about the civvies. Now, I see a lot of people make this mistake. They go to scare the civvies, and this is what they're doing. And like, we got him, but that took a minute there. And the thing is, that isn't how you want to get your civvies. What you should be doing is using the Notice Me button. Now, it's the second button on the right-hand side. You'll notice there's a little button, and we're getting their attention. You can see an exclamation point there. And when we do this, and then we scare, you can see we've instantly put that civvy into orange. So at that point, the civvy is already taken a lot. We should be able to just go through them like this and do one. And they're already terrified. So much faster to do it. By comparison, you could do 2 scares like this. 2 scares, 2 Notice Me scares are going to be enough to pop any civilian. And you don't gotta wait a lot, but just go up, get the scare, and then they're good. You can see that guy, we got a instant terrify on him because we got it while the ghost was talking to him. And so, you know, right now we're doing a lot of... We're building up a lot of fear just through civvies alone. I mean, God, look, we're at almost 30% building haunt. And the only thing we've done so far is just mess around with civvies. Now, when it comes to Ghostbusters, one of the probably hardest hitting things you can do... Oh, am I gonna get trapped? Nope, not getting trapped today. One of the hardest hitting things you can do is actually just dashing through them. When you dash through, you cause a fair amount of buildup. So watch this. They're all right there. You can see they've all been slimed a good bit. I'm gonna break this tether. And while the tether's broken...
Is pack heating up? Pack's cooking. I need to cool. Bombs away.
Now they're down. And this is what's so good about that, because if we could do slime, 1 dash, slime, and he's down. And I think a lot of people, they don't spend enough time going through the Ghostbuster and then following up with a scare like that is pretty good. Because you'll notice we're not haunting individual objects in here. Right now, we're gonna pull off a victory almost entirely through just abusing the Ghostbusters. Now, obviously, this is a lot harder. Like, you're not going to be abusing them to this extent when it's players. I mean, you might. There are some new players out there. But, you know, you can see we are literally abusing them right now. You know, get up. When they're down, we're going to sabotage some packs. Hop back in an object, get my area, or my energy back up. And the thing is, when they stand up, they need to take off the slime. So you can actually re-slime them pretty quickly before they have a chance to do anything. So like right now, I mean, God, if I was in this group of players, I would be embarrassed right now. I would have probably already rage quit the game. So the point I'm making here is outside of just, you know, individually sliming up areas by using the haunt and scaring your civvies. You can, of course, also just scare the absolute well, not scare, but you can just continually slime the busters, and the building haunt is just going to keep climbing up. The other great thing about an aggressive playstyle like this is that while you're doing this, you know, any civvies that try to come nearby, they're also getting it. So you're gonna get civvies and you're gonna get general build-up just as a side effect of doing what we're doing right now. Now let's talk tether. When you are tethered and it initially breaks, you'll notice that I become kind of translucent for a second. Basically, what's happening is when I get tethered, I have a very small period of time after the break where I get iframes. So, mash F as fast as you can. It breaks, iframes. I get iframes during that. I can, zip away, escape. If I go through them, they're going to get slimed. Very, very important to use that to your advantage. Now, let's talk survive, because we're into the survive period. Now, once you reach 100% haunt, you come into survive. Now, survive is quite literally just that. Until this timer runs out, if you get captured, it's done. It doesn't matter that I had 2 rifts alive. Those rifts took 30 seconds off the clock. I think I mentioned it earlier, but 3 rifts is worth 75, 2 is worth 30 seconds, 1 rift is worth 15 seconds. But for that countdown, I need to survive. If you are caught in a tether, the countdown, like if I let them get me in a tether, I can't win while I am tethered. But you need to survive that, because even if you played well, even if you got your 100%, you detonated 1 rift, so it was like an offensive rift loss, and once that timer starts, if they catch you, you're done. So more than anything, making sure that you are zippy and abusing elevation and avoiding the busters during that last minute and a half, however long it is for you. That is the critical threshold for this game. So do whatever you have to do. Slime, abuse elevation, go wherever you need to go. Because if you get caught, it's GG. Now, before we wrap up, the very last thing I want to talk about, just because of how long this took, I think I might actually do a separate video taking a look in depth at the ghosts and talking, well, what are we at on time? I might be able to do No, I'll make that a different video. What I do want to talk about, though, is the How to Play Ghost book. This seems obvious, but absolutely go through and read this stuff. This goes super in-depth into a ton of stuff with Ghost, way more than the in-game Ghost tutorial gives you, and I'd highly suggest it. If there's anything that I said that you're like, wait a minute, what is he talking about? All the basics are in this book, so read this book. Besides that, I mean, yeah, the game's a blast. Let's see, I think I unlocked, we can be Pink Slammer now. Or White Slammer. Some new slimes. Look at that jiggle. Slimy jiggle. Anyway, we're going to wrap things up here. I'm having an absolute blast with this game. I could probably do a separate video talking about each of the ghost archetypes. I guess real fast, just to kind of break them down without going too in-depth. Your ectoplasts are your all-rounders. I think these are good for both beginners as well as more advanced players. They're fantastic. Ghoulies are going to be your fear-based ghost. These are really good at horrifying up civilians and just generating a large amount of fear and haunt in an area. Bashers are your brawler-type ghosts. Strong knockback, lower stun duration. If you just want to beat down constantly on the busters, how I just was, they're not a bad choice. The ectoplasts aren't bad either because they have bonus slime. Howlers are kind of like your tactical ghosts. There's going to be a lot of like hiding around corners and then popping out and getting scares. They generate a lot of slime on their scare, but it's kind of a small cone on that. And of course their minions are a little bit stronger, but minions are more you're going to be scaring civvies with minions anyway. And then lastly, you have the poltergeist, the electric-based ghosts, and man, these are annoying little buggers. They're very zippy. They run all over the place, dashing in and out of objects. Probably the best way to play a poltergeist is hyper-aggressive, like disabling packs, blowing up traps after they've been closed, knocking down enemies, grouping up the busters and hitting them with AoE. So definitely a all-offensive and zippy type ghost. But honestly, all of them are fun. I think that's one of the things. I can't wait, because I'm sure they're going to add like more ghosts and more levels and whatnot. But the current ghost lineup is definitely a lot of fun, and even though the ectoplasts are considered the beginner ghosts, they're still a blast to play even later on into the game. So either way, that is going to wrap things up for us. Hopefully this taught y'all a couple things. I've gotten 3 Rift victories on players before, so trust me, it's not that hard. Y'all just keep practicing, and sooner or later you'll be haunt masters yourselves. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all next time.